Let's talk about how to open .csv files in R. All right, let's learn how to open a comma-separated value file in R. First, we'll take a look at this file that I have on my desktop. It's just called applesandoranges.csv. CSV files are just simple text files, so we can open them up in any text editor. And here we can see, we'll zoom in a little bit here so we can see what we're looking at here. But we just have a simple data set here, and each column are separated by commas. So my first column is named apples, comma, so that's the end of my first column. My second column is named Mandarin, and my third is named navel. There's a hard carriage return at the end of each line. That's how it knows where the rows end. But my first apple weighed 175 grams, my second weighed 165, my first Mandarin orange weighed 65, the second weighed 55. And so the data are just separated by commas. It's a very, very simple data format. And probably, I think, one of the most commonly used. Certainly it is in my lab. So let's open up R, and let's grow our font a little bit here so it's a little bit easier to see. And I will open up a console window where we can type a few things out. So there are two things that we need to do to open data in R. The first thing we need to do is direct R to the right directory. And second, we need to open the file from that directory. So it's a two-step process, which is a little bit different than most software packages. The easiest way to point to the right directory on a Mac is to go up to Miscellaneous, and then down here to Change Working Directory. On a Windows machine, it's File, and about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way down, there's a menu called Change dir ... or Change dir ellipsis. So just select it, and then navigate to that directory. So mine is on my desktop, and we can see the data that I'm looking for here is on my desktop. So I'm not selecting the file itself, I'm selecting the directory which contains it. Okay. To make that a little bit more clear, let me put this into a directory. Let me create a folder here on my desktop that I will call data. And let me move that file there. Okay, so when I come up here in R to Miscellaneous and Change Working Directory, I want to go to the folder called Data in which my data are located. Now your folder is going to be called something else and it will be in a different location, but that's what we want to open. So I click Open, and to find out if I'm in the right place, I generally come over here and type Get Working Directory, and that spits out that it's under Users, under John Thane, under Desktop, under Data. So that's where I want to be. So I'm in the right place. The other way we could have done that is with the Set Working Directory command, but that's a little bit harder to use in the sense that you have to type everything out exactly right. But you could do the Set Working Directory command and put the file directory path name in there, and that would work just as well. Once we have pointed it to the right directory and we use the Get Working Directory command and it spits out where we want to go, then we just have to open the data. We have to provide a name for that data. It can be anything. I generally default to the data, but you can name it anything you want as long as it starts with a letter, not a number or a punctuation mark. There can be no spaces, and I think the only punctuation that work are the period and an underscore, although that may not be correct. But I just generally call mine the data, and since it is a CSV file, we're going to open it using read.csv. Then parentheses for our inputs, and then since this is the name of the file the data set, I'm going to put that in quotation marks. And it was, what was it? Apples, oranges.csv. Let's see if that's right. On a Mac, then, to run that line over to my console, if I hold down Command and hit Return, it will copy it over. On a Windows machine, you have to hold down Control and hit R. But we can see that the data showed up. The data.read.csv. So the line that I typed here has appeared over on the bottom. No error message showed up, so I think we can assume that it worked. Excuse me. But to check to see that it worked and that it opened up the data set that I was interested in, I generally run these lines. Dim is short for dimensions. So that will tell me how many rows and columns I have, or how many observations and variables. Names will give me the names of the variables, and head will give me the first 6 observations so that I can see what the data look like. So if I highlight all 3 of those and send them over simultaneously, again by hitting Command and Return on a Mac and Control R on a Windows machine, we can see that I have 14 observations. So I measured 14 different examples of 3 different types of fruit. Those fruit were apples, mandarin oranges, and navel oranges, and we can see here my first 6 observations are all rounded to the full grams. Okay, so that is how we open data, or open CSV files, external CSV files in R.